sorry I asked the question. It tells me it's sunset 12/2007, came back on board 2/8/10. Policy active and revised 8/15/11, 9/17/12, 9/16/13. Sorry I asked. I'm not suggesting we change it. I'm just asking those questions to see.
Yep. I don't think anybody thought you were. Okay. Moving on to the coach's handbook. This one we do approve as read, correct? And anything issue being activities, director, athletics.
No, that would be an addition. It complements the others, the student handbook and teacher handbook, to just make sure the coaches, the teacher capacity, and then there's some unique things in relation to just advising them about their athletes and what they're responsible for. No, highlighted parts are just work pieces that I usually follow and have to make sure that coaches are aware when I follow them, that we're implementing.
As I'm reading here, I see that the agenda that we have, the narrative one, is listed in a different than the one I have in front of me. So I did not mean to skip over the football coach position. What's that?
There's no contract.
No, I haven't posted it either yet.
Yeah,
But I wanted to prove
But I
that.
just wanted to make sure that it's different on one page than the other. It's no big deal.
Sorry.
That's okay. One thing I'd like to do at this point, though, is vote on, have a motion made, vote on the coach's handbook, accepting it as it's presented to us. Everybody had a chance to look through it, ask questions. Now is a good time.
We try to live by these policies.
That's the expectations. Motion made by Don Hummel to approve the coach's handbook as it has been presented, as it is presented to us in this form. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Ken Cook. All those in favor of accepting the coach's handbook as it is presented to us, indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. That motion carried. Go to, which is C on our narrative of the middle school football coach position. Could you explain that to us?
Yeah, we have currently projected 54 middle school football players for 7th and 8th grade. As outlined in the recommendation approved by the board for a number of coaches. At 46 students, there's 4 coaches for football. We are currently staffed at 3, so I'd like approval from the board to post another middle school football position for this coming school year.
They follow that salary schedule, like whether it's step 1 or 5 or down.
How many per coach?
I have projected 54 kids.
But is there a policies that currently have read? You have so many kids class
Yes.
A coach.
That's what it's 46. At 46, the recommendation is 4. Anything less than 46 for football and middle school level is 3.
So it's just a 46. And you just go with 3 no matter what.
And then it goes all the way down to 2 coaches too.
Okay, so is there a magic number?
Let me check here. I'm just going to go back to that policy.
46 divided
Or actually, it is not a policy.
I know there's not a policy.
It was board approved back in 2010.
One for every about 15.
And it is sports specific also, because obviously different sports account for difference. numbers in order to keep up. At football, if there were less than 30 students out, then we would have 2, is the recommendation. Now, the recommendations are made dependent on the financial situation of the district as a guide, higher the minimum and add as necessary.
So it's about, that was my question. Thank you.
I would entertain a motion to allow Mr. Kramer to advertise for another, or is that called an assistant coach then, or is it just a coach?
Tammy, do you recall on our last one, it was an assistant coaching position? I just knew this middle school coaching position.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure I'm saying it right. Well, entertain a motion. Motion made by Tim McKinney. Accept the recommendation from Mr. Kramer due to high population of football in middle school to entertain the football coach position. Is there a second? Second by John Hummel. Further discussion? If not, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Okay, then we also have, under E, we have the sharing agreement. Mr. Collins, would you want to go through that with us?
So Akron Westfield has agreed to sell 40% of their elementary counselors' time to West Sioux. The cost, I'm not sure if the cost of the sheet is in your packet, but it is about $33,000. Right now, I'm working with Mrs. Fonstad. We're looking at probably half days. And boy, I tell you what, I'll stay out of Mrs. Fonstad's way, but to me, the purpose would be for the counselor to touch every kid through a curriculum, through classroom teaching. It would be a good use of this. It's a position that we lost during hard budget times, and so it gives us a good chance to just try it out. See, if we want to reinstate either part or the full position. So I would see the sharing as probably a temporary, short-term thing, and it helps us decide whether we want to bring the position back. It does qualify for operational share, so it earns us 3 FTEs at $6,390 per FTE. It earns us almost $20,000. Cost us about $33,000. We'll also need to pay mileage from Akron to Hayward, so there'll be an expense there. If it, I shared with Mr. Witt, if it ends up being bad for either district throughout the school year, we'll drop it. We need to be good neighbors and good partners, and if either we feel like it's an unnecessary expense, or Akron Westfield feels like they can't live with 40% less from an elementary counselor, then yeah, I'll be coming to you and asking you if it wasn't that long. Either way.
So, is the mileage every day, or is it just on trips, or is it 2 days a week?
It'll depend on the schedule. Right now, we're looking at half days. 40% is 2 days a week, so it'll be 4 trips, 12 miles, 24, about 100 miles a week. And our reimbursement, I think, is 39, so about 40 miles.
34.
160 a month, about 1,500 for the year.
That's how you make the best fit into the curriculum.
Yeah, I think that's really helpful because then the classroom teacher doesn't have to step away from their already busy schedule and trying to get to the curriculum, trying to accommodate all of the needs. This way we have one person be that visual person and vocal teacher of the instruction. Here's how you teach
And I know it's been a concern expressed by the board, several of you talked to me about getting that position back. So, I mean, that'd be the ideal situation. We have enough population, we have over 750 kids, one counselor. We're understaffed. So we could easily have 2 FTEs. This is just a chance for us to give it a shot, give it a try. So that'd be my hope. I hope by next spring we're gonna come back and say, yeah, we want it full time. There you go. How wonderful that we somehow bundle this for the liaison items. Do it all.
So DW has okayed it in their meetings, so it's public.
Yep.
Is there any further discussion?
Is that, it's just the elementary council from down there? How many are in their elementary?
Well, in their elementary, United, the total district is 550, so it's about half of that, yeah.
So how many are in our?
We have about 307.
West Sioux has about 200 more kids than
Total.
Acroessa total.
I'm just trying to figure out how many are
Yeah, our population is heavier in the elementary in this district.
And we have a higher
At risk.
if you
Well-
look at other categories.
We have, when we did that, when we let all those positions go, we said openly that we would take a look at it as we became more financially healthy and thought of the need, combined with this sharing agreement, which was not there last year for the guidance counselor, and they opened it up this year. That's why we decided to look at it. And, Jeff was in a very, you said many times about that in the course of and so I am supportive of myself. And like we said, we have some things, reservations about, more or less about how important the school feels letting their guidance counselor go 40% of the time. That's where the reservation is coming from, because they don't know. It's all win-win for us, it might not be. So that's respect, and I would like AW to know who's your position. It gives us a chance, that's a very low expense to test it. So, is there a motion? Motion is made by Tim McKinney to approve the sharing agreement of the counselor at the elementary, 40% of the time, based upon the salary plus mileage, of possibly up to or including 4 half-days a week. Is there a second? Second by Don Hummel. Any further discussion? Any other things that need to be said? If not, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Now, Mr. Collins, could you go through this special ed, all the road functionality?
This is a part of Iowa school finance where they acknowledge that the federal government has unfunded mandates. So our special ed money comes from the federal government. Unfortunately, it only covers about 25% of the cost. So districts typically run a deficit, usually, and here's the key word, have to, because it's the law. When somebody comes in with an IEP, you don't have a choice. You can't say, sorry, we don't have any money, so we're not going to provide you with the supports that you need. So a district will many times run in the red with their special ed account. The state of Iowa will give us the authority to cover that so that we don't go bankrupt. Remember, if you go red with the authority, they can close you down. The state of Iowa will not send cash for that authority. So what we're doing here is we're telling the state that, yes, any money that we overspent on special ed. We want the authority back so that it doesn't have a negative impact on our budget. Now, just to let you know, we have the cash. We have excess cash right now, so we're in good shape. We probably really have to look at this. If our cash, as it was 4 or 5 years ago, was in the dumper, the only way to raise that cash is to do what to the property tax? Raise it. So that's when it gets to be an issue. This is another, as Jeff said earlier, it's not a no-brainer. They want to give us more ability to do business, but it takes a board vote. And we don't know what our special ed deficit is yet, do we, Danny? Because the dust is still settling on that. But you know, this has to be approved by September 15th.
Yeah, we should have a pretty good idea by next month. So.
But it won't impact tax rate. It'll allow us to continue doing business or reserve impact.
Does anybody have any questions? Do they understand how about how we can ask for the right to spend the money? I've entertained a motion to accept this. Accept this item.
That money has to be then, if you need the money, that has to be raised through what, taxation?
We have excess cash currently. If we didn't have the cash to back the authority, yeah, we would have to tax for it, the cash limit.
It allows us to actually take money that we don't have the authority to use.
Not
That's
that
hard to
authority, we
understand.
can't spend it.
That's one of the biggest things on the school board is to understand how that works. In actual situation. Is there a motion? I'd entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion made by Ken Cook to request the allowable growth supplemental aid for the negative special education balance for this coming current year. Does not affect our taxes, and we have cash in hand in an account that we can use for this. Is there a second? Second by Tim McKinney. Further discussion or communication? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Pat.
Skip the fundraisers.
Okay, sorry. Thank you. Under F, approve the year 14-15 fundraiser. The list has been in your packet. Now there's a couple more, correct?
I added a couple that are in the printed version.
Okay.
And I gave you a new one too, Ken. But added a couple since I sent out the list.
Okay.
Then I assume this is the end of them?
You can assume all you would like, but I would love for it to be, yes, absolutely, Ken. That would be great. But unfortunately, as we come in the months, there are things based on the fact that they have needs for, and other things that come up in order to fulfill requirements that they want to go purchase. The money has to come from somewhere, and fundraising is the primary way that they do that. My hope and that my direction and directive in my coaches meeting was to get these to Tammy now.
Could we had a discussion today concerning the time that you get into where the board gives you $30 from national. And we think that you offer them time to do this, look into it. And we want to be able to oblige and abide by their wishes at every time we can. On the same thing, we feel that if we don't institute some type of process, this initial one where we do the initial presentation, that require them to give you the time to offer it to the board more than one board meeting. In other words, at this point, if somebody came to you and said, we want to do this, we have a new way to raise some funds, we'd like to do it, and you would say to them, I'll bring it up to the board and see what they say. That would get you perhaps a little more, we would offer you, and I don't mean the backup, but the discipline to them. Would that be interesting to you? Would that accomplish anything?
I think it always, it has a lot, and that's how I used it last year. Very similar, that is not my decision.
Because it isn't how many there is, even though we had talked about that.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I feel.
It's all of it drizzling in, all of it keeps, you know, because we did it 3 or 4 times last year. Or more than that. Okay.
I'm afraid.
And what we're trying to do is get the people who are heading these positions, whether it's, you know, teams or something, to get on it and do some preliminaries to ease the burden that you have and the feelings that we get sometimes. It's like, you know,
But like I said, I don't, if there was any other possible way of fundraising that was through programs and have the supplies and the things that we need, without breaking the activity bank. And that's not a tax-driven thing, I would be fully supportive of that. It's unfortunately that I would imagine most districts have very similar risks. But yes, it was my directive that we have this list and be fine with.
In addition to the list, then we'll take board action.
That's correct.
That's going to be, because you know, you're put in that position at times that the game's tomorrow,
We'll
just
see.
have, you know, and it isn't going to hurt anything.
we're going to try to get the monkey off your back.
No,
Are you interested in that? Stated, like it's a.
that would be fun.
But there's still going to be cases.
Yeah, what if somebody says, they call you, there's a football game tonight, can we have a?
That's
can we
what he's
have a
talking about.
baseball?"
That's, I am saying that, I'm sorry.
Does he say no?
Yeah, that's exactly
What he's saying. I'm sorry. The reason why that is if they can't put more forethought into something than that.
And I guess what's fair is fair.
I don't know if I agree with that.
Okay.
Because there's, I understand what you're saying from the forethought, but all of a sudden, we get together and say, you know what, I think it's gonna be hot tonight, and we can sell popsicles for a quarter apiece, probably make some money.
Okay. With you saying that, I imagine there's stuff like that goes on anyway.
Right, but within those, it would actually be to my benefit, and actually, I'm okay as long as there has to be. Because if I do go out there and see things, if, like you said, it occurred where, and then I go out and look at the football field and there's somebody selling stuff already. And this is a process because I'm still new in this position. You know, you can easily say, well, we did it 2 years ago and didn't have to ask anybody. And they might be correct. So not knowing where to go and things, I understand for some people, but you know, the process, as long as I know about it, so I can make a determination like Ken alluded to, are there competing items at a concession stand? Are there competing items that somebody's selling next week? You know, type things. And Tim's correct too. There are things that do come up very quickly, and the challenge that we have, you know, even though we're increasing enrollment, is sometimes the volunteerism doesn't come out until 2 days before, and somebody gets really amped up and wants to do it, and you don't want to push them back. Exactly, and that's tough to do too. But it's regardless a good discussion, I think. I don't have a preference either way. I don't have a problem with, if it's a competing item with anything that we're selling or any other group is selling, saying no. That's where we've been at. And I also understand when people feel that, boy, this is a great opportunity for us to make some money, and the money's being kept in school. I can be certain 100% of the time that the money is being used for something to encourage kids to be a part of an organization or group, because that's the goal of the coaches, is to either make somebody look that much better or entice them to go out and be a part of something, or cover their other activities in their activity.
Well, okay, the discussion that was held was to your benefit.
Oh, I definitely
I
think
mean,
so.
because to be honest with you, it is, I mean, either way, it's supposed to have board policy, board approval. But if it's one day, you're running without it, which is against the policy. And so I guess if that's the way we've been operating, I don't, I look at the public side of things sometimes, and I mean, it's just like something all the time, but they have the right to say no too, so I guess I don't, and most of them that attend the stuff.
Last year, it happened, and sent us up to
That's what I tried doing. And I think, that was, we got a tighter handle on it. I really paid, rather than my first year and that first fall where everything was a whirlwind, I probably wasn't as strict in making sure, okay, where are you at? Would you have that on that list? Whereas last year, I knew the list backwards and forwards and knew, hey, that's not on the list. Why? We have to have more approval for those things. And trying to get it in front of me. So that's what really had made me change. And it's the right change. It was more, it was all costs like we have to do. That's just it.
Okay. I'd like to, with that being said then, fine, I'm going to withdraw what I recommended. And if there's no other, if everybody had a chance to look at them all, and there's a lot of them.
I have one question, the rest of you really wants to know, right top off some other stuff that says t-shirts. People sell that faulty bunch with the cups and stuff, and they also do base sales, including juice drink and stuff, so.
Oh, maybe this is the old list. Yes, I have. She does, first party, storage bake sales.
Frozen items that you bake sale things. Okay.
The printed
We
one
add
should
that?
be right.
Make sure we add that.
Does the printed one have that on there? No.
It says t-shirt sales, state qualifiers.
So these slushes
Are like
bake
these.
sale. So the rest of the cheerleaders.
And then they'll also do plastic bag flavor.
And this one is a final one.
So basically, what we've done is we've made it to be added later anyway. With my redrawing, the recommendation for opening up, that Ryan.
We're gonna leave it as Mr. Chairman's discretion.
Correct. So, we're gonna add under wrestling cheerleaders, slushes and bake sales.
He doesn't want more money for the decision, but what we have.
Yeah.
Why you gets the big.
We'll put that in, that was omitted. So under the wrestling cheerleaders, we're gonna add slushes and bake sale. And then if there's any additional ones, they'll approach Brian. He'll use his discretion with notification to the board as it's done. Do we have a motion from the floor? Are we mixed up enough here?
To approve the fundraisers that are on this list,
Plus the two.
plus the two. I make a motion to notice that.
Well, that's what we've done. I'm not, we've already, that's what he's had.
Okay.
We just, that's what he's had. Okay, do we have a second? That motion was made by Tim McKinney to approve the addition, plus the addition of two, as stated. Is there a second? Second by Don Hummel. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Okay. Am I safe? I ask for a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Jeff's last official act being on the West School Board is to ask for an adjournment. Second made by, was it Tim McKinney. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same, 5, 1, 10. Daycare fund of 1,006.9. So then with that, we'll move on to personnel. I guess, you want me to just read this, or do you want to go through each one of you take your?
So if you're comfortable, go ahead. If you
Okay.
guys have questions about any of the hires,
Okay.
you know, we've got the experts here.
Okay, under the first one, we have Ms. Tammy Deegan, moving to board secretary, salary of $31,112. Under 2, we have Jacqueline Larson, being a cook's helper. Her, based upon step 1 of the 1450 salary schedule, which is $11.11 per hour. We have Morgan Mullenbrook. Okay, I asked her earlier today, so special ed teacher, salary of $36,770, which is based upon her BA, it's a step 0, the first year of her 1450 salary schedule. And we also have Morgan as a middle school volleyball coach, which is based upon step 1 of 5% of her salary base of $32,358, which is $1,618. We have Rachel Mutter, which was our interim daycare director.
Two other daycare directors.
Oh, excuse me, yes, I'm sorry. Yeah. And has moved to associate position, and hers is based on step 1 of the 1450 salary schedule, which is $11.69 per hour. We have Marissa Johnson, an associate, based on step 1 of the 1450 salary schedule at $11.69 an hour also. Then we have Kelsey Hemrick, which is our interim daycare director, and it's based upon the step 1 of the salary schedule at $9.68 per hour. That's all I have at this time. Didn't ask for any comments that you guys want to make?
Hey,
Any questions that we have?
Rachel Mutter was our daycare director for the last year, a little over a year now, and she has a teaching degree. I didn't know, I talked about it before, and experience in the ELL framework. So that is one position that she's been looking at, going into teaching again. And with the ELL position open 5G agreement, it was a ideal candidate timing, because we also have a candidate in the daycare who's already been working Kelsey Hemrick and would like to take on that leadership role. But rather than just have that daycare director position given, have a smoother transition with as an interim. So we'll look at that as a 6-month interim position, review it with the daycare board as well, and make sure that the transition is going well before we move to that next step. That was that position. Marissa Johnson was also a special ed associate. She has her teaching degree as well. The one that was a good candidate.
And then I do have a comment about the board secretary. I'm glad Danny's here still, because I want to acknowledge it. Since October of 2012, she's been doing 2 jobs. So this is timely, and I want to thank Tammy for stepping in and doing the board secretary. But yeah, kudos to Danny. She's been doing a lot for a long time, so.
Thank you, Danny. Thank you, Tammy. Thanks. Appointments. With that, is there any questions? Anything that we need more discussion about? We're at the end of the consent agenda. I ask for a motion to accept, either accept or a motion of some type. as it was presented to us, with their personnel and minutes, invoices, secretary's financial report. Is there a second? Second by Tim McKinney. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor of accepting the consent agenda as it was presented and read to us, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Okay, we are under number 7 on reports. Mr. Kramer, would you like to take us on our way?
Sure. Just have a couple of things added that on my written report. An update to the one on buildings and grounds. Mr. Engelman recently sent me a email indicating that he is going to hold a meeting on Thursday, August 21st at 7:45 to share some further information. And any of those interested are welcome to attend. You can kind of read through the report that I handed out that they're investigating the possibility of building a batting cage on the existing tennis courts. Right now, the challenge that exists is getting time within our gym because we are scheduled immediately after school till usually 10 o'clock at night, definitely in about January through May. And it's a tough place to get into. And that challenge has existed, and it's an area in which we talked about a need for, and this is something that a group that has kind of stepped up and identified this need and is looking at trying to put something up for our kids. I think much like I wasn't around during this time, but I use the comparison of the track and what was done by the community, and a great job that has been done to provide Sioux with a phenomenal track if the communities along the same lines. Also, I had an opportunity right before school started to do some. I didn't have an opportunity to get this out into my report, but I did have an opportunity to get some quick facts. Mr. Cook has been nice enough to talk about each month in his board report the substitute numbers and the absentee information. And I just kind of wanted to go through and have a further discussion on this so everybody had information. And I just kind of did some breakdown, and this is definitely just informational purposes. You know, in our program that we operate, we don't use 100% of our employees in the ASOP program, which is our substitute calling system. But there's 69 total employees that are in this system, and of those 69 employees, they were in attendance 91.9% of the time during the 2013 school. What we talked about was the differences between absences when students are present and absences when there might be in-services and things. Of that 91.9%, 48 absences occurred on in-service days. So if we were to take those absences that did not affect students in the classroom, teachers would have been present 92.1% of the time. If we account for professional leave, this would be leave that, in essence, in many respects, teachers asked to go on some of them. But also some of those are included on mandatory trainings, like our mentoring program. In the state of Iowa, if you are a new teacher to the state, you have to go through the mentoring program in the first 2 years. That takes a number of days out of the classroom and in professional learning. This also takes their mentor outside of that. Also, we have the Iowa Core that we need to go to. We have the TLC grant opportunities. We have a number of different grant things that the trainings just take place during the school year and during the school day. What the AEA has found in a lot of their trainings is that if they offer them during the summer, they're not as highly used. And so many of the trainings that we have opportunities to take only take place during the school year. And we try to look at any trainings we can take place outside of the school year, but there just aren't very many. We did a number of them this summer. Mrs. Dawn said it with a number of teachers, and we had the opportunity not to affect student attendance. So if we take those 295 professional leave days out, then we get up to 94.67% of school days that have teachers in the classrooms. Then if we look at, you remember last year was a unique year where we had a staff member who resigned mid-year, but was also in the system. So we had a long-term sub from the semester all the way to the end of the school year. Now, in my opinion, if we have that same substitute for that long period and we actually did hire her as a teacher, I wouldn't count that necessarily in the absenteeism of teachers. So in taking that out, we actually have 95.2% attendance rate for our staff members. If we look at absences in education nationwide, you can see that we're right on average there with the rest of the country. Also, another unique stat that I thought was very interesting that I kind of plucked out was out of the 69 employees, we offer in our master contract 4 personal days to take as they wish. Of those 69 employees, 55 of them did not use all 4 days that they were given each year. They lose those days. They don't get to bank them, they lose them. So only 21% of our staff took all the vacation days they needed. I would be very curious, and I couldn't find the stats, but in other sectors, what percentage of employees don't take their vacation days? I would imagine it was probably more than 80% of your staff in most other areas, but I could be wrong. I thought that was a very unique stat that that many of our teachers chose, that they realize the importance of being here and they want to make sure that every opportunity they have, they're here. So just some interesting quick facts for you as we start off this new year, because I know the teachers really feel responsible for what the learning is happening in the classroom. We're really excited. We got, I say this every year, and I think students think I'm kidding. We do have a great group of kids. I mean, I walk in there and I got to meet with every class on Thursday for 30 minutes, and just some really neat kids, our new students that came from other communities, just excited about being here, the exciting opportunities that we have here at West Sioux. You kind of forget, and as I do, some of the things that we have that are unique, one-to-one, and the facilities that we have. We forget, unless we've been somewhere else, how nice those are. And when those new students come in, their eyes open up and they get very surprised about the opportunities that are presented. And even when I did the freshman orientation, we had one family that was considering moving away from the community because of job, and he told me that after the orientation. Less than 4 days later, he was in my office and said, I don't know how we're going to do it, but after orientation, I decided my son is going to graduate from West Sioux because of the opportunities that you talked about in orientation. Now, that may not have been because of other things, but it was just really neat to hear that going, wow. You listen to those things, you hear about the opportunities, and that student has been going here since kindergarten and didn't realize, wow, all of these things I could be missing out on this year. So they're pretty exciting times. I'm really excited about the new year and how we started off and continue that growth throughout the next months ahead of us.
An interesting sidebar too. So those numbers include long-term medical, maternity leave.
That is correct.
And catastrophic illness. So if you factor those out, I think what you see is the day-to-day attendance of teachers is really pretty darn good, if not outstanding.
My numbers were on 61 TVs. So what are the other?
We have associates who are also listed with there because they have to have students that are assigned to them. So they're also included in our ASOP program.
Do you hire subs for those?
Yes.
The other thing that's a little bit different is the year before, the personal leave was only 72%.
72% of
Personal leave.
So there were only there were less teachers that did not take their full 4-day allowance.
We need to applaud those people that take
Absolutely.
none or one.
Yep. Yep.
Businesses, education.
Well, we
I'm
don't see that in
surprised.
any other areas in which I would say I'd be very, very surprised in the number of staff members and other employment opportunities that don't take their full vacation.
Well, the other thing that bothers just a little bit is 48 absentees on in-service days. Is that a popular day to take off?
Well, I think there's two schools of thought. And one is, teachers talk about specifically their reasoning for taking a look at that is they're feeling that they're not losing out on their contact with students. And so they try to schedule some things. I know there's no great time for an absence. My preference is actually, I think in-services are just as equally or even possibly more important than the school days, but that is the thought process. And I understand and empathize and talk about that consideration with many of the teachers. It's an interesting conversation to have.
The mentoring program, however, may have some value, but it does demand a lot of days out of the classroom. The state should be well aware of that.
I agree.
And it's a 2-year program, so it's not just 1 year, it's 2 full years.
That's a
8
lot of days.
per
Yes,
student.
it is. Significant amount of days.
Thank you, Mr. Kramer.
Thank you.
Okay, I didn't have a board report this month because it was crazy busy at the elementary, getting all the new teachers ready and all the changes and with the switches and classrooms and students. So I apologize, there's no written board report, but basically we hit the ground running with back to school with the teachers and training and in service. We talked about what our focus is for the year, and this focus for this year is really to stay steady, stay strong on, focused in on reading with struggling readers, and stay knowing our learners, talking about our ELL students, and really identifying their needs. So we talked a lot about that with our staff. We also had everyday math come in and work with our new staff who've never been trained with the math program, as well as the 6th grade teacher, Mr. No, sorry, Wayne. So he was trained as well. Because he
So
was doing it this year.
what is everyday math?
It's the curriculum that we use to teach math.
So personnel from that curriculum come here?
Yes, the
support their-
consultant, yes.
Okay. Mr. Collins?
Yeah, and I'd like to pull just a few items off of the last update, so we'll see this eventually. We have a joint board meeting. The last time the presidents and vice presidents got together, it was discussed to have a joint board meeting with Akron Westfield probably twice a year. And so a couple of dates that we're looking at, check your calendar, would be October 6th or November 3rd. And if you communicate with Gary, whether that works for you. The presidents and vice presidents and I will be gathering. We also meet on a regular basis, so our next meeting is August 22nd. If you have anything that you'd like to have discussed during that time, talk to the president, because it is evaluative in nature, so they'll be talking to me about things that they'd like to see happen. I attended a training for the Teacher Leadership Compensation Program. So did Laura Hensley. That's the educational reform that is being supported by our governor and the state legislature. There are big dollars associated with that. The program's going to be implemented in thirds over the next 3 years. We applied last year. We were not one of the districts that was accepted. The intent is that every district will receive the revenue by 2016, 2017. So, but we still need to turn in an appropriate application. So the plan is to apply again for that. By the way, the $310,000 would bring over $220,000 a year into our district revenue. Now, it also costs the state $50 million this year, another 50, so $100 million the second year, another 50, so $150 million the third year. So those of you that are a little worried about how is the state going to continue to fund this, I agree. I agree. So we're not going to spend that money until we get it. But Yeah, it's out there and we plan to go after it. Board work sessions, Dr. Tim Breeze, the Chief Administrator for the AEA, has facilitated 2 work sessions for us, one on July 23rd, the other on August 7th. The next one is scheduled for August 25th. That's a week from today at 6 o'clock. I just see a lot of good things happening from that. That's neat. We've got teacher leaders and administrators sitting down with board members. Really excited. Dr. Breeze is doing a fantastic job. I do have a date conflict with our December meeting, conflict with the family. So on December 15th, if you look at your calendars, if we could move our December meeting to the 11th, that would certainly help me out. But wouldn't have to be done tonight. We'd probably have that tonight in the next 2 months. We're just giving you a little early heads up on that. So, that's all I have.
This also is time for the board. Any questions, comments? I guess I will say that this work sessions that we've been doing with Mr. Greaves, glad that he decided to ask the teachers. We have a lot of, I'm not saying that. I don't entirely always think the school board has enough qualifications without their qualifications to determine and to point out long-term vision plans where the school is going into. So Mr. Greaves thought that it was a good idea, so we included that, and I think it was a very good idea too. It went smoother, I think. It was a lot of I don't know if it's dreaming, but a lot of, you can tell that they've had this pent-up thoughts in their heads for a while, so I think that was good. We have one more scheduled meeting we're going to actually do it, and what we're looking at is having a 90-day presentation with an announcement shortly before, I believe it's Thanksgiving, correct?
So going on, yes.
And we're going to roll that out to the public and introduce it to them. So that's our plan. So we have one more planning session we get it all done that month, as we indicated before. And I want to say thanks to everybody that's been involved. It's kind of a theme. We all Anybody have anything else? Okay. We're going to the informational items. Open enrollment.
Got one coming in. That's the way we like it. You bet. We'll take him. He is a child of a staff member. The daycare is a mag.
First thing we said. It'd be fun to watch him grow.
Actually, that whole thing. Then we have SAC PAT grant.
I'd like Tammy to make a comment on that. She has good news.
There's a grant that I applied for through the county, through Sioux County, they call it Hunger-Free Kids of Sioux County. I asked for $5,000 and they gave $6,500 for the setback program, so that was a very good deal.
What do you do, what is like, what do you spend on this, like,
About $13,000. So we cover half of it.
That's good.
Various things being done in this community concerning that. On the news, right before I came in, indicated by the federal government that 1 out of every 7 kids have a food malnutrition. Great, thank you, Tim. With that, we'll go on to number 9, under new business. Under new business, we ask for a motion and we vote upon items separately. Under the first thing of new business, remember that we amended the agenda and included a new item. I guess at this time, you'd like to.
Yes. I was like, tender by the resignation. For health reasons, don't feel like I put enough energy to this to justify it.
We had some discussion about this earlier, and we fully understand and fully support your reasoning. And, but you are definitely a very missed person on this board. You brought a lot of level-headedness, good thinking. You were a school teacher, and you're a business person. And you're going to definitely be missed, Jim. Okay. Thank you, Jeff. Then we have we'll start out with under first reading of board policies, 405.8 through 406.6.
I'll talk about those now or next week or next month.
Actually, it's both times. That's why we have two readings.
Okay. 406.5 is something I just ran into. It seems to me it's contradictory in this because I don't think the school board has any control over the insurance program. Very limited, because the master contract spells it out, and if you read the first sentence, it says licensed employees shall be eligible for group insurance and health benefits, fine. The board shall select the group insurance program and insurance company which will provide the program. I don't think that's true. Because if you read the last paragraph, requirements stated in the master contract with the employees in that certified collective bargaining union and the board regarding the group insurance benefits to such employees shall be followed. So that just tells us the first paragraph. To me, it tells the first paragraph is not.
And the only thing I can see is if the licensed employee did belong to the association, does that make a difference?
They all have.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of where that might apply.
Yeah.
Just because you're licensed, it's automatically.
We have very limited control over that. It's like none.
You know, what we could do, Tammy, if you make a note of that, the School Board Association has sampled and revised, and we can come back next month and offer you some kind of explanation as to what they're advising us to do.
All right.
I need to confirm on something. Upon conversation with Danny regarding the first thing that was on the new business agenda, we do need to vote to accept the retirement. I'm sorry, I did not realize that, so I'm going to back up. And Jeff Isles has asked for turning in his retirement, resign from the board due to health reasons. So I'm going to ask for a motion to accept it as Mr. Isles has suggested it to us. Okay. Motion made by Don Hummel, reluctantly. Seconded by Tim McKinney. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. And thank you for your years of service, Jeff. Moving back also have we have first reading of early retirement policy 417. It's currently a policy that we've had in place for 3 years, I believe. The same policy we've had in place for, I think this will be the fourth. The board has the ability to pull it at their discretion once a year.
Was this,
Go ahead, Mr. Cook.
was this sunset sometime back and then reinstated?
Yes.
And was reinstated?
Sunset for litigation that was happening somewhere, I wanna say, had to do with something, how the wording was, the way it worded Medicare eligibility, and whoever was filing suit against the Supreme Court because it was being discriminatory. And once that got sorted out, then that policy was reinstated.
Lawsuit regarding that?
Well, yeah, whoever brought suit against whatever school board it was, or school district, that group or that person or whatever it was wanted to stay on the school's insurance as well as be on Medicare, both.
Okay.
So, there, at that time, I believe there was a lot of school districts sunsetting. Because if you didn't sunset it, you would be, if that litigation would have gone through, you would have the barrier on your insurance until forever.
Tell me that makes sense.
There was also a decision about 3 years ago, I don't know if I was passing this, but to where it could be, if you left it in your policy, it could be a mandatory item for negotiation. So that would refer to. So I know a lot of districts dropped it.
Drop.
Retirement, early retirement.
It's currently not part of the master contract. It's currently is part of it. No, but I mean, but we do have the ability to retire it or to sunset it at one time during the year. We can't choose.
Right now, the board controls it.
Personally, I would recommend that we keep it in place. It's an important tool to manage some of our expenses.
Is now the time we're gonna decide if we're gonna have it to do it or not, or is this
Each year.
no, I don't know. So this will be decided tonight.
This is
if we're
the,
gonna do
this
it
is the first
year.
reading.
Right, but even if you approve it, that still doesn't mean it's in place for this year, is it?
I believe that's what that
Oh,
means.
it does.
You're deciding now whether this is, they'll have the option this current school year. And now would be the time if you want to look at it and adjust it or change it.
I think we're voting.
Well, it's 6 o'clock. I'd like to call the meeting to order. We have enough board members here for quorum. Mr. McKinney will be coming in about 10 minutes, so we'll go ahead. We are number 2, which is approve and amend the agenda. Anybody on the board want to amend the agenda? We have an item that has been added that we'd like to add to the agenda. business. We'll probably do that right away. We'll do it. Can we move it to the beginning of the new business? So I need a second. Oh, excuse me. We're moving it to new business, and we'll put it ahead of A, or 1. We are adding.
Oh,
Okay. With that being said, we have recognition of citizens. Any comments or request to speak to the agenda items? Not. And we have some correspondence. Can you take care of that for us? Oh, excuse me.
Could you just speak up a little bit? I'm having trouble hearing you.
Oh, sure. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Okay. What I just got done was recognizing if there was any citizen comments, any citizens here, any people that wanted to comment to the items that are on the agenda. From that, we're going on to some correspondence, some recognition of students and staff, and I've asked Mr. Kramer to take it over here.
Under correspondence, we received a thank you from the family of Stuart Wood, and a thank you from the family of Terry Quincy, and a thank you from the city of Hayward. Recognitions, Riley Megard received honorable mention All-State Softball. Also recognition for all district teams, second team, and Northwest Iowa Review, second team, and first team in the Florida Conference. Amanda Mace received second team all conference, and Jenna Rager, honorable mention for the conference. Then for baseball, Porter Hummel that was mistakenly identified as honorable mention, he was actually second team all district. Second team Northwest Iowa Review, and first team War Eagle Conference. Jesus Rivera also received first team War Eagle Conference recognition, and Keston Blankenship, honorable mention War Eagle Conference.
Thank you, Ryan. Anything to add or anything that questions concerning this? Okay. If not, we'll move to number 4.
Can I shout out to all of the staff who have gotten the school ready? And
Sure, you betcha.
thank them for getting the school ready, and we've had a great start, but it's because of all the staff members that were working really, really hard. Just a shout out.
Thanks, Jerry.
Yep.
Move to number 4, under old business, we have approved revisions to board policies 404 of employee conduct and appearance through 405.7, which concerns licensed employees. Now, this item will be up for approval for final reading tonight. So is there anything that anybody has to bring up? Any questions? We have the superintendent and both principals here that can answer questions. Good.
Uh, 405 maybe. Might look at that second paragraph and see if we need to change that.
Could you repeat that?
4055. 4055.
Which paragraph or item are you?
Second paragraph. We wonder if we need to change that.
To what? Or to what? Concerning what? Yeah.
Well, there's a advance approval to be absent from the school building must be obtained with principal and license employee must leave the school building during the workday. I think that's probably something we should change to strike it out.
Omit it.
Yeah, I would just, what they do is they either kind of have them just
Just
let us
check
know.
out.
that-
Yeah,
Yeah,
check out.
exactly. So if we have parents or phone calls coming in, usually to let us know, occasionally to say they're no longer here or they're stopping. Yeah.
You can change the name.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a cool
Notification.
notification.
I think it's good that you know our information, just in the free range.
Just an idea.
Depends on how you define advanced school. Is that,
You feel that it's 14 now?
I do, yeah. I mean, they just, if they have any reason to leave, it kind of gives us, and sometimes if we have an emergency situation, I just go to this because we just recently had our emergency plans go through on Friday. We wouldn't know where they were at if we got into a situation where they ran home quickly. They didn't let the office know anything. We might have started looking for them. But I don't know if that's a reason not to change it or not. That, you know, there's going to be chaos on the ramp in those situations. So, even if we had perfect situations, not to be, may not be the best example.
Okay.
Okay with that?
Well, I'm fine with that.
Okay. I guess. Go on through it. Just everybody had ample time to look at it. I mean, some of it's, I guess what you call it, boring, but it's referable back to how we operate. With that, we then need to approve them, which requires a vote.
I would move to approve revisions to board policies 404 through 405.7.
Is there a second? Jeff Isles made a motion to approve the board policies of 404 as they are currently standing, seconded by John Hummel. Further discussion regarding this? If not, we'll have a vote. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Okay. From that, we'll go on to our annual meeting regarding several items here. Mr. Collins, do you want to do this, or do you want me just to? Okay. We have under A, we need to establish depository banks and limits for our district funds. That includes right now 4 different places. We have $4 million to Iowa State Bank in Ironton, $5 million to First State Bank in Hayward, $3 million to People's Bank in Hayward, and $1 million in Bankers Trust. Each one of these, we need a vote. We need to have either discussion and approval, and a vote will be held for each individual item under these. Is there any questions regarding what we're doing with the procedure? This is an annual thing, so every year and I think we actually move it, don't we? I mean, I think the amounts are different in certain
Danny, do we rotate among the banks? Is this consistent? We have the same banks?
We have the same banks. The amounts, I think, are different sometimes. The amounts are different sometimes, I believe.
We have had the same banks since I've been here.
But does the rotation of the amounts take place, or the amount of which fund goes to which, is there a rotation?
Yeah, I think so. I would entertain a motion. Motion made by
Oh, goodness.
Hummel to accept as read the financial institutions in the amount. Is there a second?
Yes.
Second by Jeff Iles. Further discussion, comments regarding this? Not. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Under B, we are naming the Hayward Independent / Ireton Examiner as the official newspaper of West Sioux. There is no other one. Is there any discussion? Comment? Okay. If not, I'd entertain a motion to to approve that. The Hayward Independent / Ireton Examiner as the official newspaper of the school. Don Hummel made the motion. Is there a second?
Yes.
Second by Jeff Iles. Any further discussion or comments? If not, I'll entertain a vote. All those in favor of accepting the Hayward Independent and Ireton Examiner as the official newspaper of West Sioux indicate by saying aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Okay, under C, we appoint our legal counsel. Our legal counsel in the past, for the last couple of years, have been Steve Avery of Cornwall, Avery, Warren-Sapp, Scott.
Have we ever looked for a different one?
We actually had a different one until 2 years ago. I believe when Mr. Richardson came here, we moved to this one because that was his preference.
He was here about 18 years ago, and, okay. Sounds good.
Okay. But we did have one, I think since we have been on the board, we had a different one from that time. But anyway. Yep. That being said, I'd entertain a motion to accept Mr. Avery of Cornwall, Avery. Am I saying that right? Warrenstead and Scott. Okay.
I would take that motion.
Motion by Jeff Iles. Is there a second? Second by Don Hummel. Any further discussion or comment? If not, all those in favor of appointing legal counsel to Steve Avery of Cornwall, Avery, Warrenstead, and Scott indicate by saying aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Under D, we have authorized check writing responsibilities. Under the general fund, the schoolhouse fund, the food service fund, the management fund, we have the business manager, the board president, and the superintendent. Now, I guess I'm gonna separate, though I'm going to do both of these together, but we'll talk about it separately, okay, so we know where we're at. One question I have about that, are we talking in that, or is that in order, or all inclusive, or just one? All inclusive. Okay.
In other words, any of us.
Okay. And same thing will be with two then, or, okay. Under the activity fund, we have the business manager, the board secretary, the middle school and high school principals, the activity director. Is there any discussion, anything that anybody does not understand? not, I'd entertain, and this is how it's been in the past. This is as history is repeating itself. I would ask for a motion of such to accept this. Okay. Don Hummel has, as I stated, the general fund, schoolhouse fund, food service fund, and the management fund is stated as the business manager, board president, and superintendent, whereas the activity fund has the business manager, board secretary, the middle school, high school principal. I think I said that actually wrong somewhat the first time. Activities director. All those in favor indicate, is there a second? Second by Jeff Isles. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. Okay, we also have appoint a child abuse investigator. Level 1 is our school nurse, which happens to be Pam Hardy. And under level 2 is the Hayward Police Chief, which at the current time is Mike Ryan. So is that different steps, Ryan, or is that different severities?
Be different steps.
Okay. So they both get involved sometime along the line. In that order, probably. And does Pam Harvey conduct the investigation? I mean, solely on her own?
Yep. And she determines the level 2 investigators.
Okay. And this has been, this is a history repeating itself also. Anybody have any questions or comments? If not, I'd entertain a motion to accept it as stated. How about you, Ken? Do you want to make a motion?
So moved.
Okay. Ken Cook made a motion to approve it as read. Second. Second by Don Hummel. Further comments or anything like that we have? If not, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Under F, we have appoint the affirmative action investigator, which is our guidance counselor up here to the high school, which is Mr. Jim Hansen. This also is a history, this is a repeat from several years before. And Tim McKinney has entered the room. I'll repeat this at where we're at and stuff, Tim. Get you up to speed. We are under number 5, which is the annual meeting. Currently, we are under F, which is appoint the affirmative action investigator, which is our guidance counselor of Mr. Jim Hansen. And this is our annual meeting. We do this every year. So where I'm at right now, we just talked about it. So is there any conversation, comments, questions? If not, I'd entertain a motion. Okay. Motion made by Jeff Isles. Is there a second? Second by Don Hummel. Any questions? Comments? If not, all those in favor of appointing the affirmative action investigator as the guidance counselor of Jim Hansen, indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Under G, we have appoint hazardous chemical right to know, which is our environmental coordinator. We have 2 of them. We have under Op 1, we have secondary science teacher, which is Josh Martinson. And we also have the head of the buildings and grounds personnel, which is Brad Hoffman. Now, is that in order to, in other words, is there levels there of reporting?
Different expertise.
second? Second by Tim McKinney. If there are no further comments or questions, I will entertain a vote. All those in favor of accepting it as we have read, as written on paper, indicate by saying aye. 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 Nay being the same, or no being the same, motion carried. And we also have, under H, we have appoint EOE coordinator. Do you have any luck finding out what that actually means?
I would suggest we amend that to just be equity coordinator. That's what my position is supposed to be. I'm not sure what EOE means.
Officers.
Well, I know I'm the equity coordinator. It's not just limited to employment. It's also supposed to be curriculum, day-to-day stuff. So during a site visit, that would be important. We have a couple of years. I think what we've been doing is just going off of past agendas, so we're not really sure what that EOE is standing for. I would probably suggest amend it to read equity coordinator.
No one could make something up.
Yes, we could. I'll bet you.
Has anybody got any ideas? Okay, so I'm wondering if we should amend that or not without knowing what EOE really actually stands for. I don't know what it makes.
Is one of these actually, I guess this would have to ask
I mean, that would be my guess. And the board has to appoint an equity coordinator every year. And I don't see it anywhere else on the agenda. It has to be.
Okay, when I ask for a motion, one of the things we can do is amend this appointment and change the name or the title of it to where we want to be. Might be a good idea. Mr. Collins is the coordinator currently, and this would appoint him as the one for this coming year again.
What are you coordinating?
Day-to-day stuff. If somebody, say if an employee had a complaint, felt like they were being discriminated against, not being treated equitably, fairly, then it would come to me. So it kind of sets a chain of command. Who do you go to if you don't think you're being treated fairly?
Also, for our students and feeling like going through materials or any books or anything in the library, everything is supposed to have gotten through a checklist. So if they feel that that has not been followed and there's not proper equity being provided, it also goes back to our classes. Classes they'd like to see classes at home ec, they'd like to see as many males as there are females in there. They'd like to see in industrial technology as many females as there are males. Also goes to our sports. There is not an equal amount of sports activities. We have to provide an equal opportunity for the other gender in a similar fashion or something for them to do. We can't just offer football and not have another sport during that season.
So does anybody?
Equal opportunity portion. That's what
Maybe.
that's.
So I guess whoever makes the motion, if they choose to, they can actually change that wording.
I move to appoint the EOE coordinator, superintendent.
Okay. Motion made by Ken Cook to accept the appointment of Mr. Collins as the EOE and keep the name as it's read, as it's been in the history, which is probably nothing wrong with that. Is there a second? Second by Don Hummel. Everybody okay keeping it as EOE? Okay. That being said, all those in favor of appointing Mr. Collins as our EOE coordinator indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carried. That is the end of our annual meeting of appointments and everybody had a chance to go through our July minutes, the July invoices? Are there any questions that you have not had a chance to get answered through this meeting? Danny is here. Our board secretary is here. Okay. Under the consent agenda, we can make one vote. We can accept the agenda as one item and accept it in our vote. So, Mr. Collins, do you want to go ahead with, or do you have Danny here that's going to? Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Quit it.
Sorry.
Nine. All right, so I take a look at the report. I think it's about 6 in your financial packet, and it's general fund balances. It's the same one we've been tracking now for several months. Got some highlighting there. Just we're beginning a new fiscal year, so this is always 1 month behind. This reflects July. Cash. And I'll have this spreadsheet later, and then also revenue. And it's nice to have 4 years worth of data, as you'll see pretty quickly, because a couple of these numbers might be concerning. We weren't looking at the history. So when we go down to cash balance, that looks good. So we're up. This is compared to July of 2013 to July of 2014. We just completed. We're $54,000 higher than we were 12 months before. Revenue coming in. A year ago, in July, we had $5,000 come in. This July, we had $33,000, so that's an increase of $28,000. And you'll see that's not super significant. Expenditures are also up. So a year ago in July, we spent $103,000. This July, we spent $158,000, so that's up $54,000. Look at, okay, so this last July, the money we had coming in revenue compared to what we spent, a difference of $122,000. So we spent $122,000 more than what we brought in. When you look at the history, man, you realize that that's pretty common. In fact, the year before, we only brought in $5,000, we spent $103,000. The explanation for that is revenue is real heavy, or we get a greater influx twice a year in October and March. And so if you look at the last 3 years, that's when property taxes are collected. So that's when a lot of our revenue comes in. So rather than me just saying no surprises, things are looking good, that's why we're looking at this. But it should just be a snapshot. Things are looking good, no surprises. Dust is still settling on fiscal year 14. Danny has gotten the certified annual report to a good spot. That is, you don't submit that until when, Danny?
September.
Yeah.
Mid-September.
So mid-September. What I'd really like to do is wait until count day and then do a presentation, because the dust will be completely settled from last year. We're also going to know what our current count is, which pretty much determines next year. So it's just a neat chance for us to take a look at 3 years worth of data, last year, this year, and next. And so I'll plan to do a presentation to the board and then in both or all 3 buildings too. Finances are looking good. I think principals can tell you a little bit more during their reports about enrollment and what trends we've seen. Just remember, it's not final until count day. So there's really not a need to, in fact, that can be counterproductive to look at day by day this time of year. We need to just see how many cheeks in the seats we have on count day. October, it's either October 1st or October 15th. I think it's October 1st. Yep. So that's all I have.
Let's go through the rest of the thing. We have activity fund of $66,296. Management fund of $226,279, silo fund of $569,190, supple fund of $166,820, nutrition fund of $155,920,